Hey, what's up YouTube? Just coming to you from beautiful Patasso trail system in Boulder, Colorado. This one's about 20 minutes from me. Nice blue system, just enough for a great workout. I thought I would take this opportunity to do a long overdue review of the Specialized Status 140. I'm a little late on this, so please forgive me. But I've been very busy riding this thing and upgrading it. And I also got the fat bike and I've been upgrading that. And I've just been doing all sorts of Colorado stuff. So, been very busy, but finally I want to dive in. I just finished a ride, about an hour, a little over an hour. Got caught in a rainstorm. Just light rain and drizzle. So yeah, it's a little dirty. I actually did try to clean it up this week, but I just can't keep this thing clean because, you know, it's been a rainy season this year in Colorado. And the trails are fine to ride, but you get a lot of dirt, flinging up, a lot of mud flinging up. I'd say wet sand more so than dirt and mud. But she's still looking real nice. So where do I begin? The list is long. So I haven't done any crazy overhauls on this thing, aka the suspension is mostly stock. So this is the Fox 36 Rhythm. It's 140 mil of travel, and 140 mil in the back. And this is a Float DPX2. So this is the original shock that was included with the Status. But now they do the Float X. I think the Float X is just the latest and greatest, not too different from this really. Maybe a few bells and whistles, but this shock's been really good. Sometimes it gets squeaky because I don't maintain it, and we live in a very dry climate here. But if you service this thing, and the fork too, if you service this on a regular basis, if you're a heavy rider like I am, I mean, not heavy as in fat, but putting a lot of rides on it. It's a great suspension setup. Now I did recently, about 2-3 months ago, I upgraded to the Grip 2 damper. This is the go-to damper from Fox. I had a shop here in town do that, the Fix-It shop. And that's been working out real nice. I'm experimenting with removing volume spacers, as I mentioned in my recent videos. But the shock is great. More mid-stroke support, a little bit more confidence over the real techie stuff, considering the travel on this. And I'm down to 2 spacers. I'm going to keep experimenting, probably take out another one, see how that feels, but it's much softer, less harsh. So I've been liking that so far. And it's starting to rain, so maybe the bike will get a little cleaner. But I will continue this video once I relocate. What's up, guys? So I'm in some better weather now. I'm at Walker Ranch in Boulder. Just did about 5.5 miles on the blue section. First time out on that section. Pretty cool. It's not too hot today. Status looking good in the sundown. This color is pretty cool. I forget the exact name. It's like a blue slate, and it just kind of reflects whatever the sun is doing. So the color's really grown on me over time. It especially looks really good here in the mountains and in Moab. A lot of cool colors will come out. Sometimes you get kind of like almost like a purple, but then sometimes you get like a deep orange. It's pretty cool. It's one of the early colors of the Status, because this is from the first year, because there's been a couple years of the Status at this point. But yeah, just to continue the review here, I was talking about suspension. So yeah, so far so good on the Grip 2. I'm down to 1 token, and that's feeling real nice, not too harsh. The DPX float is also feeling great. I got it tuned this season, or before this season, by Dirt Labs, and the noises are gone, and it feels real nice, but I've never really had any complaints. Even when it's noisy, it seems to work really good. I've had it at Trestle at the bike park, and I do like to jump. I'm not super hardcore, nothing super crazy, but this is my first dual suspension bike, so this has been a great setup for me so far. But yeah, let's talk about drivetrain. So this was all NX stock, SRAM NX, and that was okay, you know, for the first like 6 months. And then the derailleur started acting up on me, and that was one of the first things to go. I originally swapped for a GX derailleur, and that was really good, but I've since moved that to the Fatty, and I've gone XL1 on the derailleur and on the crankset. So it's got the carbon arms a little bit lighter. The Status is kind of heavy, so I've been doing anything I can to trim the weight a little bit for these crazy climbs in Colorado. And then yeah, got the XL1 shifter as well. Real nice shifts. And then one of the more expensive parts on the bike, which it's kind of filthy right now, but this is actually the oil slick color on the XX1 cassette. And I did have to get an adapter for the wheel, because the standard wheel is actually for just Hyperglide. And so you can go up to NX12 speed, but you can't go higher unless your wheel supports the adapter. This one happened to, I found it online. I'll probably try to link that somewhere. I think it was like 40-50 bucks for the adapter, but then they could throw the XX1 cassette on here. And these rims, these are like specialized Roval rims, so that's their brand. No complaints on the rims. But yeah, so the drivetrain's fully upgraded. I also, at the same time, I threw on this MRP bash guard for a little bit of added protection. And I originally had some Deity pedals, and I recently swapped out for some Vaults because my Deities were real beat up. These are getting beat up as well, but they look really cool. I've been trying to get more blue on the bike. The blue kind of matches the suspension switches, and so that's kind of cool. Also got an Ergon seat recently. I didn't really have any complaints with the stock Specialized seat, but I had heard real good things about Ergon, and it's got the cool blue on there. And I also wanted to move the old seat to my Rockhopper, so that worked out nice. What's up, YouTube? Coming to you again from Boulder, Colorado, in the foothills. Beautiful foothills of North Boulder. It's a great day today. It's like maybe 72, light breeze, almost no clouds. Awesome riding weather. But hey, I want to wrap up the review on the Specialized Status. I forget where I left off, so I might overlap some things, I might skip some things. But since the bike is flipped around, let's talk about the Code Stealth Ultimate brakes from SRAM. I'm just bedding these in now. The SRAMs kind of have a long bed-in process. Kind of had a similar experience with the Code R's. So as you can see, it's got the shiny new calipers. Sorry again, the bike is dirty as usual. I just can't keep her clean, but that's okay. But yeah, the brakes are real nice so far. So these, I swapped these on the Status probably about a month ago. Bike comes with the Code R's, but these have a slightly higher end lever, and they also add the contact adjust. So that's cool. What else? I just picked up this new Bontrager safety light because I had bought a cheap one on Amazon and that is not very bright at all. This one seems to be brighter, so I'm rooting for it in some of my later rides. I don't do night riding, but sometimes I get caught on the longer trails when the sun's going down, and it's just good to have lights on the bike. There's the trusty quad lock. I've got that on all 3 bikes now. Don't leave home without it. It's just so handy when you have really massive trail systems, and also just it's nice to have a camera handy in these beautiful Colorado locations and, you know, all the other places I go to. Let's see. Okay, so this front tire is still a stock front tire. It's the Butcher Grid Trail that came on the bike. So this is a 29 again, because this is a mullet bike. So it's got the 29 in the front. So I probably got a million punctures on this thing. I went tubeless kind of late in the game, maybe like I don't know, 2 years in, or no, not 2 years, year in. After I had, I think I had a blowout on the tube, and then I finally went tubeless. But even with the tube, I feel like this tire was doing pretty well. So I've been impressed. I didn't think they'd be that good. But I still got tons of tread left. Like, that's crazy. Over 2 years, and I am just beating on this bike. So, happy with the Butcher. I feel like they have a newer model by now. I think the newer status has maybe a better tire, I'm not sure. But as soon as this goes out, I'm probably gonna get an Assegai. I like the Maxxis tires, and I've heard really good things about the Assegai on the front, so I'm gonna try that out soon. But yeah, it's a good tire, it feels good. Rear tire, this is an Aggressor. So this is, the rear tire is a totally different story. So this is the 27.5, smaller tire in the rear. On the mullet, it's got the EXO, and of course tubeless ready. So the stock Butcher died, and it wasn't even the tire's fault. The bike shop overinflated the tire, and on one of my local climbs, this tire just, the stock tire, the stock Butcher, basically ripped. And so that tire was dead, and then the shop recommended putting an Aggressor on, and the Aggressor's been pretty good. Not as much traction by design, but it rolls really good, it rolls fast. Good cornering, I would say. But this is actually the second Aggressor. I've already worn out one. So this is the third rear tire. But that makes sense. The rear tire takes a lot of abuse. What else? So I guess what I could do is maybe just chat about the frame specifically, things I like, maybe things I don't like. Sorry, this is not a formal review at all, but I think maybe still some good insights. So as you might expect on a bike that is this slack and is, you know, also a mullet bike, this is not really known for climbing. And so if you really hate climbs, this is probably not the bike for you. But if you kind of enjoy the challenge of climbs and you're pretty good at them, this bike is not going to stop you by any means. I still can climb really well on this thing. And I don't know, I think if you have decent tires and, you know, you've been riding for a long time, I think that there won't be much learning curve on this bike for you. But certainly where this bike is going to exceed is the downhill stuff. Any you know, flow trails with lots of jumps, any parks, this is kind of like known for being a park bike, and once you try it, you kind of get why. It likes to jump, it likes to be in the air, it feels very confident on the fast stuff. I don't do super crazy steep hills. There's some really steep stuff here on the Front Range, off of the left-hand trail system. I have tried some of the trails, and man, they're steep. I'm kind of afraid of heights, so I don't do anything too crazy, but the bike still managed well. I have obviously upgraded pretty much everything, so that helps. And you definitely want, super good brakes, which, even the stock Code R's are really good. So the bike pretty much comes equipped for what it's designed for, and it excels at that. But yeah, climbing, again, it's just not known for that, but it can do it. It's fine, especially mine, which is the 140, is totally fine as like a trail bike. Every trail system here in Colorado has some climbing. Some of them are brutal, and I still do lots of hike-a-bike, but I can pretty much climb anything that I could on other bikes. That said, I do notice the fat bike and the hardtail, certainly they're gonna climb better than this, no doubt. But yeah, let's see, what are some other negatives? I would say it's kind of heavy. I think it's like 35 pounds. I've lightened it up with all the high-end Tram stuff, but it's just, it's a heavy fork, heavy frame, and alloy rim, so it's a chunker, but it feels tough. Like, it drives me nuts sometimes, especially in this dry climate. The noises from the transmission and the dropper post and the shock and the fork and the headset and the crankset, like, this dry climate is so brutal, especially when you're like me and you don't clean the bike that well or that often, or if you're an idiot and you power wash the crank and stuff like that and the headset. The noises are insane, and so that's brutal, but that's probably true on every bike, especially in this climate. But the frame feels very tough. I've never, on big jumps, stuff like that, I've never felt like it couldn't take it. I do a lot of rocky technical trails, and it seems to takes the beating just fine. And same goes for the fork, Fox 36. Been pretty happy with that. Certainly curious about some other forks, just because I'm always looking to upgrade and play around. But as I mentioned, I did upgrade to the Grip 2, and pretty satisfied with that so far. I took out 3 tokens, so I'm down to 1. And what else? But yeah, the fork feels real tough, and handlebar feels good. That's just an alloy bar. These are the original Deity grips that came on the bike. Starting to wear a little bit on the edges. I think this one's starting to, yeah, it's starting to peel. So these are about due. But I've added I put Deity's, I think these, I actually replaced the stock ones, and I put the old ones on the hardtail. I can't remember. These might be the originals, but I've been happy. They're pretty comfy. Let me know in the comments though, if you know of any grips that are more comfy than the Deities. I'd love to experiment. But yeah, in this lighting you can't you can't really even tell, but this is like the oil slick rainbow color cassette. Mine is so dirty you can't tell. I can't really notice too much difference between this cassette and the NX. It definitely has a different, like, higher pitched noise, and that partially might be because of that hub adapter, I don't know, as well. But I mainly wanted this for the weight savings, and it does look really cool when it's clean. But the sound is cool too. Not too different from the NX sound, but definitely a change. And then down here, I went X01 on the derailleur, and that's been real solid. Might be the most solid part on the bike, honestly. The most trouble-free. Also got the X01 crankset. This is some of the only carbon I have on the whole bike. But cool looking crankset. Again, a little bit of weight savings. Didn't go XX1 because I think this is actually the most durable one they make. And this is either an X01 or a GX chain, I can't remember. But drivetrain is solid. I'll probably do a more in-depth review or a comparison to XT at some point. But this has been good. You know, I feel like SRAM was the right call on this bike because the Status is a little heavy. So going with the SRAM stuff is a little lighter than an XT or XTR build. So that's cool. And then here we got the Vault pedals. Got these this year to replace my Deities. And these are already banged to shit, but they look pretty cool. Mainly got them because the reviews were decent and I wanted some more blue on the bike. And speaking of more blue, I got this Ergon seat recently. I don't notice a whole lot of difference in feel from the stock Specialized seat that came with the bike, but its design is a little better for the bits, and again, got some blue. So I kind of, with the blue stuff, I kind of was trying to match the suspension switches, and it kind of does in the quad lock. So yeah, just bringing out some blue on the bike. What else? I think I already talked about, well, I talked about the Code Ultimate Stealth calipers, but I don't know if I mentioned these SRAM HS2 rotors. So these are thicker rotors than what comes on the bike, than the standard SRAM rotors, and definitely notice the difference. These do seem tougher and a little bit better braking power. Not night and day, but you know, I did notice them. I probably noticed them more because the old ones were worn out too, but the old ones were in still pretty good shape. I put those on the fat bike and they're working out really well on the fat bike. So yeah, I think overall I've been happy with the SRAM brakes. You know, this is like their highest end you can do. The Code Rs and the Code Ultimate Stealth, or the Code RSCs, are the older model. I think they're noisier than other brands, and you know, and whatnot, but I feel like they have good modulation. Like, I do like the bite on XTs, but I don't know if that's always a good thing. Sometimes when you're doing the steeper stuff, modulation is nice, and I think maybe the SRAM's a little better at that. So I don't know, maybe I'll do a more in-depth brake review at some point. Okay, moving on. I think we're almost done here, wrapping it up. I still have the Manic Fusion dropper post that came on the bike, and it's awesome. I recently, I had like a creek that seemed to be coming from this region, and the shop just, you know, cleaned it all out because I never serviced it. But it drops perfect every time. I feel like in some reviews, people talk about maybe it'd be nice if there was a longer one. And I don't know if this bike would support it or not, but maybe a little bit taller dropper would be cool. So that's something I might look into at some point, but this one's working great. So big fan of that. Oh yeah, here's the lever for the dropper. The lever's a little bit sharp. I feel like I've definitely, like, I mean, I always wear gloves, but even with gloves, I feel like I've nicked my fingers, or my thumb sometimes. But again, it works perfect. I had a pretty like rough crash, and I thought the lever would be toast, but it survived. And also the XO1 SRAM lever is real nice. Better feel, higher end feel, really nice shifts. Definitely a huge step up from the stock NX. No surprise there, but you know, get out your wallet as with anything else. So yeah, just to kind of wrap it up, I'd say strong points are the suspension and the brakes that come on the bike and the frame, and the geometry. Those are the highlights, I would say. The negatives are the weight and maybe the stock NX drivetrain, which just feels very cheap and gets out of alignment, and I don't know, just doesn't sound as nice. Oh, and biggest advantage of this bike, I would say, is the price and just value. So mine was $3,000. That was like peak or just before peak bike shortage during the pandemic. I bought this in Bend, Oregon, which was a very fun experience because this was my first dual suspension bike. So I got lucky that, you know, they had two bikes at Project Bike in my size. One was like $5,000 and way over my pay grade and my needs, and this one, and they had just assembled it. And honestly, I don't think they even wanted to sell it to me. I think one of the guys at the shop wanted it, but they did sell it to me, and they knew I wanted it. And yeah, I mean, it's just been a hoot. I have seen these come down to, I think, like $2,300 when all the inventory recovered recently. I'm not sure if they're still at that price, but if you can get one for like $2,300, that's kind of an amazing deal, because then you could put, you know, that extra $700 or whatever into upgrades as you need them. But really, you don't need to upgrade anything on this bike immediately. Like, I would say I did it a different order. I kind of piecemealed the drivetrain over time as things wore out, or I just couldn't, you know, stand it. I just had like, I just wanted to upgrade certain things. But honestly, you could probably get 2 years on the stock parts, depending on your location that you're riding and how often. But yeah, super great value. But yeah, guys, that's it for the Status. Long awaited 2-year review. It's actually a little more than 2 years because I'm so slow. So sorry about that, but I'm just busy riding my butt off. And yeah, I would say thumbs up on the Status. If you want a fun bike, that's a good value and can handle just about anything. The Specialized Status 140 is just fine, and it's a great platform to upgrade from. I've had a really good time with it. So thanks for hanging in there with this very non-technical review, but hope you got something out of it. If you have a Status and you like it, drop me a line in the comments, or if you have a Status and you hate it, you can still drop me a line. Would love to hear it. All right, guys, take care.